Welcome to the Just Ingredients podcast. I'm Cara Lynn, and here we talk all things nourishing to the mind, body, and soul. This is a place where you can find just good ingredients to life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I am so excited for our guest today because he is actually our family's eye doctor. So Dr. Collin Gray, many of you have seen him on some of my stories. I've received so many questions about the work he does and different things I've shown on my stories. So I'm thrilled to have him on the show to dive into some of these topics. Dr. Gray is a graduate of the University of Houston College of Optometry and currently serves on the board of Utah Optometric Association. He travels across the country teaching other optometrists about advanced dry eye treatments, and he's also an associate faculty member at Rocky Mountain University of Health Professions. There, he helps train new optometry students in advanced procedures and contributes to dry eye research. In addition to his extensive experience in education, Dr. Gray specializes in myopia control, dry eye treatments, and aesthetics. Welcome to the show, Dr. Gray.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we get going on some of these topics that my followers have asked when you've been on stories, will you just tell them a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, of course. So just like you said, I am your guys' just local eye doc. I grew up in Lehigh here in Utah, and my dad's an optometrist, so it's kind of been a legacy type gig for me. I always wanted to be an eye doctor. And my focus when I was in school, of course, we learned all the surgical things and the medicinal side of how to treat eye disease, but I really wanted to focus on more the holistic side and preventative eye care, which I think should be our focus nowadays. So that's just kind of what I've been doing for the last few years. Been practicing now for almost 5 years. Can't believe it seems like it's been that long, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here and teach you guys a little bit more about preventative eye care and what we can do from home, what we can do daily, and just make it so our eyes function how they should.
Well, I have to tell you that I love that you take a holistic approach, but also totally Western medicine as well. I love that it's a mix. But I have to tell you why I liked you the very first time that we came to you. And you probably remember this, but you were doing the eye exam with my daughter, and then you told her at the end, you said something like, now you need to make sure you eat your fruits and veggies because that's going to help with your eyesight. And I was like, oh, this doctor is good. I like this guy.
Yeah,
So,
I do remember that.
okay, so let's just talk about why do you believe it's important to address eye health through more than just prescriptions?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Just like you said, I think Western medicine has its role. Definitely with some types of severe infections, I still use antibiotics and stronger things that I need. But
Right.
I firmly believe our bodies were meant to work and not depend upon medication. And so I think there is a lot of holistic things that we can do to do treatments like that. Yeah, just like the conversation we were having with your daughter. If we just are able to supplement ourselves with the right vitamins and the right things that our body's lacking, then yeah, our eyes naturally can do its own work and take care of itself.
Okay, so then I'm curious for vitamins, is it true like you always hear like eat a carrot, or the carrots are so good for eyesight. So are there certain vitamins that are better for eye health?
Yeah, totally. That's something I always kind of tell kids. Usually, my first exam with them is like, "Yeah, we've always heard the wives' tale that carrots are good for the eyes, and it's true." Vitamin A, the actual name of vitamin A is retinol, right? And we have a structure in the eye called the retina. So retinol, vitamin A, is super good for the retina. But honestly, you need like a truckload a day for carrots to make a big difference. That's why I think supplementation and something that is high packed and has a ton of nutrients in it works really well. So yeah, vitamin A is one. Vitamin C and vitamin E are great. They're kind of antioxidative and also help out with the lens structure of our eye, which develops cataracts later in life.
Hmm.
And then we get into things like lutein and more specific things like zeaxanthin and mesozeaxanthin. So I call them L, M, and Z. Those three ingredients are very uh, anti antioxidative for stress in the retinal function. So it helps with retinal disease like macular degeneration. Um, yeah, those kind of the big main ones, but there's, I mean, a lot of other ones that we could delve into.
So, a lot of those are antioxidants. So, is stress a thing that can make our eyesight worse then?
Yeah, so oxidative stress for sure. Our retina is just every few milliseconds just sending signal, 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 and it creates a lot of waste. The analogy I typically use when I'm talking about oxidative stress in the eyes is our eyes just create a lot of waste. So we have our garbage man that comes every week to pick up the garbage. And if the garbage man is doing his job, we don't get waste piled up at our house. As we age, there's a certain part of the retina called the retinal pigment epithelium. Its job is to be the garbage man.
Hmm.
So it will uh, take the waste that your retina makes and puts into our bloodstream so that your body can take care of it. But for some reason, it starts to not function as well. The garbage man doesn't come every week, it comes every 2 weeks or every month. And so you get oxidative garbage piling up in the back of your eye, and that is macular degeneration. You start to get these little things called drusen spots. And so, yeah, if we can just keep that RPE, that pigment epithelium, function how it should using antioxidants, it will serve you for your entire life.
That is really interesting because you hear about fruits and veggies are full of antioxidants, and those, supplements are full of antioxidants. And you hear about that for the body's health, but not often do you hear about it for eye health. So that's really interesting. So I want to ask you then, do you think then that inflammation plays a role in people's eye health not being that great? Because inflammation's a huge problem today in America.
Yes. So having my specialty be more dry eye related, I actually think probably 90+% of the dry eye patients that I see, it doesn't start in the eyes. It starts in the gut. It starts in the body with inflammatory issues going on. So typically the four things I'm always asking is, do you have any hormone issues? Do you have any autoimmune issues? Do you have any allergy issues? Do you have any infectious issues that lasted longer than they should? So it's all inflammatory related. And yeah, if we can calm down the body, then we can calm down the dry eyes and the eye issues that we're having. So totally 100% is related to inflammatory issues in the whole body.
Interesting, because inflammation is the root cause of so many health issues out there, but I never really related it to eye care as well. And so, tell me though what that is. Is that just purely they're not making enough liquid for their eyes?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to simplify it. It just kind of delving one level deeper. It's what type of liquid is not being produced. Okay, because the tear film, whenever you blink, every 5-ish seconds, you are spreading tears across your eyes like a windshield wiper across your um, the car window, right? And so you have 3 different types of glands that help secrete that tear film. The most common one that has the issue are called meibomian glands, and those are oil glands that are in your eyelid. And so, yeah, when you blink, it creates enough pressure for those glands to secrete oil to go and help kind of protect and keep the other parts of the tears on the surface. The other two, which are affected as well, but don't happen as frequently, you have the lacrimal gland, kind of sits up here in the corner of your skull. It secretes more of a watery liquid. And then you have surface cells on the surface of the eye that secrete kind of a mucus. We call it a mucin that helps things stick to the eyes. So yes, you could have deficiencies in any of those, but the most common one, over 85% of the time, is meibomian gland issues.
And is this a big problem that you see out there? Do a lot of people suffer from this?
Yeah, I mean, specifically here in Utah, we're the third driest state, so we get a lot of environmental factors, right? Not a ton of humidity, but definitely because of inflammatory issues in the body. I have so many patients coming with gut health issues and having so much inflammation in the gut. Those mucous membranes in the gut are very similar in the way that the meibomian glands are made. And so if
Mhm.
you're having gut issues or having inflammatory issues in your skin, acne issues, whatever it may be, it's more likely you're going to have meibomian gland issues as well.
Wow. So is that the main contributor to there being a deficiency in that liquid or in that oil or something else as well?
Yeah, I think there. there's a lot of different factors, right? And so those four main things I talked about. So hormones could be out of balance. Autoimmune issues could be causing your thyroid not to function as well. Um, Diabetes is a big part of it as well. Hypertension. Um, there's also just, like I said, environmental factors. So if you run a lot or bike a lot and you get a lot of wind, you're not protecting your eyes. That's another just external factor. Lasik, surgeries, things like that can cause the nerves not to function as well in the eye, to sense that your eyes are dry, to secrete more. Um, yeah, I could probably go on and on about different factors that could attribute to dry eyes.
And so if they come to you, I'm assuming you suggest lifestyle factor changes
Oh, yeah.
like we've talked about, but then I'm assuming there's medication or something that helps.
Yeah, so I try to play the patient's advocate, and I understand we have insurance and it works well sometimes. So I always try to do something through your insurance first, where it might be, yeah, some eye drops that are prescription that are a little bit more targeted towards that. I have a few that I think are my favorites, and I feel like they work a little bit better. But a lot of times when we go to get them at the pharmacy, they're really expensive. And so I always try to do everything through your insurance first. And if not, then we look more at the holistic, full body treatment. But yeah, then there's simple things, just telling you to blink more. Earlier, I said we blink on average every 5 seconds, but sometimes when I look at you under a microscope, it's like, yeah, you're blinking every 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So just remembering to blink. And there's a lot of studies that show whenever we do computer work, which is, I mean, everyone does computer
Everyone.
work. We tend to blink about one third the amount that we should. So about every 15 to 20 seconds instead of every 5. So yeah, your
Interesting.
eyes are just sitting there evaporating. And then you remember, oh yeah, boop, got to blink. So
Oh,
just
that's
telling
interesting.
people to remember to blink. Sometimes warm compresses help kind of get those glands to warm up and secrete the oil that they should. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. I want to move topics because one time while I was in there with my daughter getting her eyes checked, you actually brought up red light, and you even said to her like, "Oh yeah, red light will help can help your eyes." And I was like, "What? I love red light. I talk about it all the time on my page. I love that it helps feed the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cells. We use it when we're sick all the time. If someone has a hurt ankle or, something hurting from some sport, we use it. And so I'm curious, how does it work for eye health?
Yeah. So you kind of hit it right, hit the nail right on the head with the mitochondria, right? So we've known for a long time red light's been very anti-inflammatory with treatments, stimulating ATP secretion from mitochondrial cells to help the cells turn over quicker, so heal quicker. And gland structures are just a very active tissue, and they create a little goblet or a little cell that then breaks open, secretes oil, and that's constantly happening. So it creates, breaks open, then gets kind of trashed. So if we can increase that or help it along, that will function a lot better. That's exactly what red light does. There's also other applications with eye care with blue light, yellow, infrared, different wavelengths. Uh, there was actually a study done, and now they have an FDA approved treatment for macular degeneration. That was probably about 4 or 5 months ago,
Oh,
using
wow.
yellow and infrared and red light. And just a certain protocol to take care of macular issues. So we don't know exactly on those other lights how it's working. And that's typical when something new comes out. We just know it works, and then we try to figure out how. Um, so yeah, it's been very interesting though, they apply it to patients with dry eyes and also it's all the way to macular degeneration, just using light therapy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, okay, so it works with dry eyes or helps with dry eyes because of the glands, right? And so, but someone like my daughter who wears glasses because she can't see very far, can it help with something like that, or we don't quite have the research yet for that?
No, we have kind of, so when we talk about studies, there's like case reports, which are individual people that had good results, which, yeah, gives us a little bit of oomph to say that these treatments work. But then we have kind of group studies, and then we get to bigger and bigger studies, and then FDA clinical trials. So we have smaller group studies that show that red light therapy can help with myopia progression. And all myopia is if the eyeball is too long compared to the power of the eye, which is why you become very nearsighted and can't see far away. And it's been working very well in a lot of Asian countries to help prevent that progression. So the eyeball stays a similar size or doesn't keep growing dramatically. It grows at a normal rate. And once again, we don't know exactly how that's happening. We just know that it's working.
Interesting.
Yeah.
O Okay, so I'm curious though, some red light boxes might be too strong to just look at though, because I know some red light boxes come with like the little goggles to put on. So do you have to be sort of careful as to which ones you look at?
Oh yeah, for sure. I get this question asked a lot. Just like, oh, I have this certain box or I have this certain device at home. Is it good? Is it bad? And I just say, well, I have to look at the parameters. There are specific ones that can be a little too intense for the eyes, just visual sensitivity wise. There's some that can be a little bit too intense on the infrared or the yellow or blue wavelengths. So when in doubt, definitely use the protection that the box suggests. Excuse me. Or just make sure it's right at the right working distance and far enough away from your face, or it's where it should be. And you're not changing any of those parameters. Because doing that can change the intensity or the power of what's actually hitting your skin and hitting those glands for sure.
Okay. Do we know anything about red light and farsightedness for those of us that are having a hard time reading up close things?
Um, no, unfortunately. No, I always joke with my dad if someone knows how to figure out so that term is called presbyopia when you start to lose the ability to read, and it typically happens in your 40s ish. Um, we always joke that if someone can figure out a natural way to fix presbyopia, they're going to be retired instantly.
Yeah, they will.
So yeah, unfortunately, not anything currently that we know of.
Okay, let me ask you this. Why is it that everybody in their 40s or so many people in their 40s have that problem of reading up close? Mine has gotten so bad lately. I'm like, where are my reading glasses for everything?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I honestly don't understand the whole process behind it, but just for some reason, when we hit that magical age, usually 42 to 45-ish, it seems like overnight, all of a sudden, you just like, "Oh, man, I need those readers. Where are they? And I need them." Instead of just being like, "Oh, yeah, once in a while when I'm trying to thread a needle type of vision, I might need it." But that lens, the intraocular lens that helps us read up close when we're young, just stiffens and gets hard and doesn't flex very well. So imagine you have a magnifying glass that can change powers, right? If I were to like twist and dial it in and be like, oh, yeah, now I need more magnification. That's what our normal lens does. But yeah, we just don't know. For some reason, it just stiffens and you only get one power and dramatically decreases year after year.
So, for those that are listening that are my age, there's not much you can do except grab your readers, huh?
Well, I think there's other ways to correct for it. Of course, whenever we're doing a comprehensive vision exam in our clinic, we talk about the three main things. So, glasses, contacts, and surgery. All three of those have great solutions for that. So, yeah, I mean, glasses is what most people just know and can see at the drugstore. They just go pick out some glasses and be like, oh, yeah, this works great. But there's also, uh, we call it customized vision solutions in our office. So we can do a customized vision solution in contacts or specialty contacts or some type of ortho-K treatment or some type of surgical treatment as well.
Okay, good to know. All right, so I actually want to move on to trending questions. These are questions that we get in our DMs, our direct messages on social media quite often. And I'm just curious what an eye doctor would say about this. So, the first one is the truth about blue light glasses. Do they really help? Or what is your thought on this?
Yeah, I get this question probably about a dozen times a day. And it's it's kind of a controversial topic even within eye doctors. Um, so we know high intensity uh, violet light or blue light can cause long term damage, but we just don't know exactly to what extent. We also know it can disrupt sleep cycles with melatonin regulation. So that's the main thing I focus on is just saying, hey, if you feel like you have trouble sleeping or having issues, I think just in general, having some type of blue light protection is worthwhile. And then usually the follow up question I get is like, oh, what about this pair on Amazon? I don't know. Their Amazon products aren't regulated as much as my products. So I know ours are very high quality and work very well and have a certain percentage of protection, where ones online, I just don't know. But yeah, it can affect your sleep cycle and possibly, I'll say, affect retinal function. But we just don't have long enough time with blue light to see any repercussions of it.
And do you think they need to be using blue light glasses all day long while on the computer or just mainly at night?
No, I think it's definitely more targeted towards night, towards the melatonin regulation. So I always say if you're trying to get to bed at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you try to stop using your phone or put on some blue light glasses an hour before, just to make your eyes and your brain think that it's actually nighttime and not daytime with that extra light. Um, I do see a lot of patients that are working 10 hours a day on the computer and seem to get a lot of eye strain or headaches. Um, so I think blue light protection does help decrease that. Definitely doesn't take it away, but helps decrease it. And there's actually another way to do it that's more of a holistic way, reminded thing. Instead of depending on blue light glasses, there are supplements you can take. They use carotenoids.
Oh,
So
really?
that L, M, and Z, right? Lutein, mesozeaxanthin, and zeaxanthin. Those three have been proven to be kind of like the natural sunblock for the eyes and also
Hmm.
help out with blue light protection. Um, so I have patients all the time that don't want to use glasses. Great. Just take this one pill a day and you're fine.
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, so talking about protecting our eyes, do sunglasses really help protect our eyes?
Yeah. It totally does. And I think in general, you should be wearing sunglasses anytime that you're outside, even if it's a cloudy day, because the UV index still is a thing, even if it's cloudy. Uh, like today, looks like our UV index here in Lehigh is only a 1, so we're safe. But on cloudy days, sometimes it's still an 8 to 10, which is severe. UV is what we're trying to protect ourselves from. So tint in sunglasses, the actual darkening, that's okay. If you want to wear a tint, great. But I do think you should have some type of UV protection, which comes in sunglasses, comes in glasses, comes in most forms of contact lenses. So as long as you have that, that's where you're going to be protected.
Let's take a quick break to hear from our show sponsor. Have you ever felt bloated, sluggish, or uncomfortable after a meal, even if you're eating balanced and healthy food? As we age, our bodies naturally produce fewer digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes are essential proteins that break down your food into nutrients your body can absorb. Without enough of these enzymes, your body struggles to fully digest meals, which can lead to the bloating, discomfort, or even nutrient deficiencies over time. That's where supplementing with a high-quality digestive enzyme can make a big difference. One I personally recommend is Masszymes by Bioptimizers. It's a full-spectrum enzyme formula specifically designed to help break down proteins, starches, sugars, fibers, and fats, basically everything you eat. Taking Masszymes daily can help restore your enzyme levels, allowing your body to digest food more efficiently and leaving you feeling lighter and more energized after meals. Many people notice less bloating, better gut health, and improved nutrient absorption when they start using it. If digestion issues have been holding you back, know there's a natural solution to support your body. Adding digestive enzymes to your routine can help you feel your best and truly enjoy your meals again. Go to bioptimizers.com. That's bioptimizers.com and use code JUSTINGREDIENTS10, JUSTINGREDIENTS10 at checkout to try Masszymes for yourself. Now back to the show. Okay, so I'm going to be controversial here because I've heard a lot of like more holistic type doctors say that we need that sunlight in our eyes, that helps produce like the melatonin, serotonin, things like that. So, do you disagree with that?
No. I do agree with that. I think I'm talking, so there's different spectrums of UV, right? UVA, UVB, UVC. UVC is totally protected by our atmosphere. That's the cancer causing one. When we get to UVB, that's where some of those are, or most of those are filtered by our cornea and our lens. So naturally, you already have like a UV protection, but UVB and those higher energy UVs can help you develop cataracts quicker, right? That's
Mhm.
the whole reason cataracts happen is when you get into sometimes or as early as 40 and then sometimes as late as 90, depending on how much UV you got during your life, you develop cataracts. So if you want to help delay cataracts or just kind of naturally protect yourselves from UVB, that's where UV protection would help. But yeah, UVA, I mean, still a UV, still damaging, but also have very pro benefits as well.
Okay, another trending question. Can eye problems be the root cause of headaches and migraines?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
And what's usually the cause of it? Straining?
Um, yeah, I think there's the main one that I focus on that seems to be kind of hitting most of the target field of patients that I see is due to a misalignment of the eyes. Um, like our eyes are naturally just meant to have a certain posture, and sometimes our posture is our eyes want to be pointed outwards or kind of crossed a little bit. So, I mean, we can kind of manually manipulate and cross our eyes, but when we're staring at a computer, our eyes naturally don't want to do that, right? They want to be focused far away. They were made to look far away. They weren't made to stare at a screen for 8 hours a day. And so most of the patients that I see coming in with headaches or eye fatigue or eye strain are usually computer users. And so we just put them in a certain type of lens that I like called a neuro lens that takes into account that posture and that misalignment of the eyes and builds it into a pair of glasses that you use specifically for computers or specifically for driving or wherever you feel like you are getting that type of issue.
Oh, interesting. Okay, one last trending question. How do you feel about LASIK?
I think it's a great option. Just like I was saying before, the three options I always talk about is glasses, contacts, surgery. LASIK is good if you use a good surgeon. It's as good as much as you pay for it. A lot of times I see complications after surgery from patients that went to go get a discount LASIK, which I would never recommend. I definitely have trusted providers here in Utah County, Salt Lake County that I think would do really well and do a really good job and take care of the patients first instead of just doing a procedure.
Okay, good
Yeah.
to know. All right, another topic that my followers talk about a lot or ask questions on is
Yeah.
kids' eye health. And so I just want to ask you a few things. One thing that they ask all the time, does screen time affect their little kids' eyes? And if so, what should they do to protect that?
Yeah, that is a great question. Um, that's another topic that is kind of a hot topic in eye care amongst doctors because there's the term myopia control, controlling the length of the eye as it grows or trying to help it grow naturally instead of grow out of control. We think screen time or near time, if you're doing screen time, it doesn't matter if we're reading a lot of books, it's just near time. We think that it can contribute to that elongation and growing too quickly. All right.
Which then makes it hard to see far away?
Yeah. Which then
Okay.
year after year, I get kids coming in my office like, oh, your prescription changed. Oh, your prescription changed. Get a new pair of glasses. I don't like that. I'd rather you stay the same prescription and just make it so it's easy. And you don't have to keep getting new glasses or new contacts or whatever and make LASIK a good target for later in your life. Instead of hitting a target that's super far away with LASIK, which might be difficult, we keep your target really small. Yeah, I do think screen time, personally, I think that it does contribute to myopia progression. And so the best way to combat that is to limit screen time. If you, so there's a cool study done, I should bring this up. There's a study done where they took a group of kids I had two groups of kids. One of them for recess, they went outside and played, right? And one of them for recess, they stayed indoors and did screen time. They both,
Terrible.
took a break, right? Terrible, but they both took a break and they still had the same amount of screen time during the school period. But they saw the ones that stayed indoors and did not get outdoors progress a lot more, right?
Interesting.
So my philosophy is I honestly don't care how much screen time you get as long as you get at least an hour outside each day.
Wow.
Okay. If you can't get outside, like winter time here in Utah, it gets super cold. I don't want to go on a walk for an hour. Just limit the screen time as much as you can. We definitely do see more progression over winter time because people aren't getting outdoors as much compared to the summertime. So I do think it's more about how much outdoor time you get, but also screen time is a factor.
And why is the outdoor time important? Is it just the sunlight, moving, bringing down inflammation?
Yeah, we think so. We don't think it's UV related. We think it is just the amount of lumens or the intensity of the white light that the sun gives us compared to normal fluorescent lighting or LED lighting. Okay. The sun is like thousands, hundreds of thousands, million times as strong. And so it's more of I think, an anti-inflammatory part that's happening on the eyes. We don't know for certain. This is a new field that we're studying, but that's our idea is just the sun white light is stronger compared to our normal lights that we have.
And so if it's good for kids, it must be good for adults as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's been kind of known for a long time, just helping us get with vitamin D and everything like that. Just sunlight's great, makes us happy.
Then you can't give a time like 1 hour, 2 hours on screens is okay, or can you?
I typically am saying a half hour,
A
if
day?
any. I have some colleagues that would say no screen time, but I'm realistic. I'm a dad. I have a 3-year-old. Um, so he is kind of limited most days to about half an hour.
Yeah, which is tricky because even in the elementary schools now, they have computer specialties and they
Screens.
go to
Yeah.
computer classes.
Yep.
And it's longer than 30 minutes, their computer class, so then they wanna come home and chill for a little bit, and you're way over your 30 minutes.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard.
I just remember me being in school and having a blackboard and then a whiteboard and then we had projector screens and now everyone's on a computer. Uh,
Yeah.
it's good
Yeah.
for learning just because you can learn a lot more quicker, but bad for eyesight, unfortunately.
Okay, so question then, are there some early signs of eye problems in kids that parents should maybe look for?
Yeah, it's tricky. I think our school system does a okay job, and our pediatric system with pediatricians do an okay job of screening. So as long as you are getting the screening done at school or at your pediatrician's office, they usually can find the big things that we're worried about. Some smaller things that I think a lot of places don't pick up on. If your kid is inattentive and doesn't
Mm.
want to pay attention to near tasks, so reading books, they don't like to read, or you guys are playing a board game and they just kind of don't want to pay attention, or signs of like ADHD or ADD, um, even like autism type of symptoms, they might be vision related. I've had a lot of kids come in diagnosed with ADD or ADHD and start medications for it. And then they go get a physical and they're like, oh, well, let's go get your eyesight checked. And then find out, yeah, you just needed glasses. They couldn't see. So, of course, they're not going to be at paying attention. And then we give them some glasses or contacts. And then all of a sudden they're off ADD medication. They're off all these other things that we thought were happening when it was just vision related.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And I think other big things, just if if your kid's eyes start to kind of cross and one eye just starts to wander and do its own thing, definitely go and see your eye doctor. But yeah, most the smaller things is kind of inattentiveness or just not paying attention or not wanting to do near tasks.
It's really hard to know if kids have eyesight problems because my daughter, she has terrible eyesight for far away. And I had no idea until she had a school exam when they were like, oh, wow, she failed miserably. And I'm like, sweetie, why didn't you tell me you couldn't see the board? And she was like, I didn't know that that wasn't right. I just figured that's how everybody saw it.
Yeah, I was in the front of the class, so, it didn't yeah. I get that a lot where, yeah, you start coming in kind of 7 or 8, and, yeah, I failed my school screening or I failed my pediatric screen. How did I not know? Honestly, yeah, kids don't know any different, of
Yeah.
course. So, when in doubt, if you have any type of vision issue in your family, parents, cousins, siblings, whatever it may be, bring your kids in starting at least kindergarten. So I'd say ages 4 to 5 should be the first time that I am seeing them,
Okay.
at least. Unless you see issues beforehand, then of course, I mean, I see as young as 6 months, but um, most of the time, I think kindergarten, just yearly after that during school is a great plan.
Okay, that's good to know because I do get asked quite often, well, what age should we start seeing an eye doctor? So that's great advice.
That's just me as well. I mean, I think most doctors would agree that kindergarten's a good way to start just because preventative eye care is the best way to do it. We don't want to be reactive because once we get to a certain point, your prescription's a certain power. I mean, we're limited on our options, but if we can catch it early, we have a lot more treatment options.
Okay, good to know. Okay, talking about preventative eye care, I
Hmm.
think this is sort of preventative eye care, maybe you'll have to tell me. But you suggested really unique type of contact for my daughter because
Hmm.
her prescriptions were changing so quickly. And so tell my listeners, my followers about this contact that you prescribed to her and why.
Yeah. So talking about myopia progression and making sure it doesn't change as quickly as we'd like, there's three main treatments that I typically offer depending on, I mean, scans and all the data that I get from a patient. The one that we did with your daughter is called orthokeratology. If we break down that word, ortho means changing and keratology means the cornea. So we're just changing the shape of the cornea. And it is just a retainer, a visual retainer that we have patients use overnight. And as you wear it overnight and then take it off in the morning, it has changed the shape of the cornea to get you to see well. All right. So instead of wearing contacts during the day, you wear contacts at night. And the way that it reshapes the cornea, it actually helps prevent the myopia progression. Um, by, I mean, getting super technical, it creates a peripheral myopic defocus, which just basically tells the retina to stop growing as quickly.
Hmm.
Yeah, it works really well.
It does work really well, and she's loved them, especially in the summertime when we were swimming and going boating and things
All the
like
fun
that. She
activities.
loved
Yeah.
not having contacts in. So, you do these, though, to slow down the change of the eye, like you said, so
Mhm.
that later on they can maybe be a good candidate for LASIK or so that they just don't get out of control, right?
Well, the main thing I'm worried about is the health of the eye, right? And there's a lot of studies that show the higher the prescription of myopia we have, the more likely we are to get glaucoma, macular degeneration, cataracts earlier, retinal detachments and tears, and blinding issues, right? So that's my primary focus is, yeah, let's keep the prescription small so the likelihood of those blinding issues happening later in life is lower, right? But then I think the added benefits, like, yeah, if a LASIK surgeon can fix a -2 prescription, that's way easier than trying to fix a -8 or a -12, something really big. It's a smaller target to hit.
The way that you explained these contacts to me was like they were braces at night,
Okay.
and it like yeah, braces for the eyes, basically, you were
Uh-huh.
saying, to fix it, and so that is, like you said, because it's just changing the shape,
Uh-huh.
correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and so is anybody a candidate for these or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I think most people are a candidate for it, but it definitely depends on your type of prescription. Most of the time, it's mostly used for nearsightedness. There are a few doctors that know how to do it for farsightedness or for higher amounts of astigmatism. There's some that can do it for like reading glasses issues. So I think most doctors will know how to do it for nearsightedness. There's only a few that might know how to do it for those others.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's definitely worthwhile. I mean, I don't know how other clinics do it, but I have free consults in my office where you just come in and we collect the data. see what your prescription's like, see what the scans look like, and just see if you're even eligible. And if not, it's like, fine, let's find out a different way to treat you. But if you are, then great. We already have all the data we need and we just keep going.
Well, dang, I need those for my, for the farsightedness so I can read better.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what a pain these are price-wise. Why in the world doesn't insurance cover these?
I no, I wish. I have a love-hate relationship with insurance companies because they could do so much more for preventative eye care and they just don't. It's very reactive. I feel like vision care and vision plans and vision insurance, I'll put that in quotes because I don't really think they're insurance, but I think we are behind compared to European countries and other countries because, yeah, a lot of these treatments are covered in Europe and in Asian countries, but here there's no coverage. They don't recognize it as a treatment when it's, I think, the best treatment for kids specifically in trying to prevent disease. Um, I think it kind of follows a line of some preventative diabetic issues. I have a 3-year-old that's type 1 diabetic, and a lot of his ins- uh, insulin wasn't covered for a while until he turned a certain age, which I thought was crazy. So I don't know. I'm trying to be your guys' advocate and try to get some type of coverage, even if anything. But right now, we're just doing what we can with what we got.
Yeah, it's hard in all just health issues. So many tests aren't covered by
Yeah.
insurance, and again, these lenses are not covered, but they are incredible, lenses, but they are pricey, and I have to tell you, the other day, she lost well, this a couple months ago, she lost the left one, and I about died. I was like, "This is so much money for just losing this." How
Oh
we think
no.
someone accidentally threw it away, so we had to come in and get
Dang
another
it.
one, and I was like, "These are pricey, you cannot ever lose these."
Dang it.
But okay, so how does someone, though, find a provider that might do these Ortho K lenses?
It's a good question. I in other aspects of eye care for like dry eyes or I do a lens called a scleral lens. We have kind of search tools just online. Um, I'm not aware of anything that has an orthokeratology kind of search tool. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how you would find a provider in your area. Maybe,
Okay.
I mean, if you called my office and if I wasn't a provider for it or didn't do it, then we might know of someone that does it. And so you might ask your doctor, like, hey, do you guys do these lenses? Oh, no. Do you know anyone that does? And so they might be able to help you out and kind of refer to a buddy down the street or something like that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, there's no general search bar that I know of. Um, I could do some little deeper digging, and if I find it, I can send it to you, though.
Okay. So, as we wrap up here, if people are listening to this and they just want to take good care of their eyes and their eye health, eyesight, are there tips for listeners that would just be good preventative care?
Yeah, I think there's definitely just taking your vitamins A, C, and E, and also taking actual omega 3s that are triglyceride form helps a lot with those glands. I think, I mean, all the supplements you talk about, it's just good general health care, which when we're affecting the health of the body, we also are affecting the eyes. Um, UV protection is great and just definitely having routine eye care, even if you don't feel like you need glasses. There's a lot of diseases that we catch on people that don't need glasses when you're in the office. So as long as you're
Interesting.
getting a yearly or or every other year type of exam with your eye care provider, awesome. I think you're doing great preventative care.
So, different eye disease issues is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
There's a lot of things I mean, sad story, but when I was working as a technician for my dad, we really encouraged this mom to get this kind of just scan. There was a cash pay, I think it was like $20 to do a scan on this little girl's eye. And we found a very invasive eye cancer on her.
Mm,
Um, so that's something I now require in my office are those type of scans so we can find these big things and hopefully, save lives. But there's a lot of things that we can catch early just from scans or extra testing in our office. Most common thing is diabetic issues. You may not know you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, and we see it in the eyes. The eyes are the
Really?
only place that you can see naked blood vessels without having to dissect, without having to cut into your skin and look at the vessels. We take a picture of the back of the eye and we can see those vessels and how diabetes or high blood pressure or autoimmune issues are affecting the vasculature. Um, so I diagnose a lot of autoimmune issues, a lot of arthritic conditions, um, refer out for a lot of blood work with a lot of my patients just based off of an eye exam.
That's fascinating. I
Yeah.
actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
So someone may come in just feeling crappy, but not really knowing why they feel crappy and have an eye exam, and you might see that they've got some autoimmune issue.
Yep. Yep.
Wow. So how do you see if someone is pre-diabetic or has diabetes?
Yeah. So I mean, diabetes in simplicity, it's insulin resistance, too much blood sugar in the blood. Sugar creates issues. The endothelial cells in the vasculature start to not hold liquid in, but kind of leak out and become more of a sieve. So we see along those vessels blood leaking out. So red blood cells, or sometimes we see the plasma leaking out. Sometimes we see white blood cells leaking out. It just depends. And so looking at those smaller arterioles or vessels that we see early diabetic issues that you may not even be aware of. But most of
Wow.
the time you're coming in, if you are kind of getting to that stage, most of the time you are coming in like, oh, my vision, I feel like it's changed because it does cause some vision changes as well. Um, but yeah, then we find out, yeah, you're diabetic. Let's just send you to an endocrinologist or your primary care physician and get your blood sugar regulated and you be fine.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, and you even talking about omega 3s, we sell an omega 3 and that I think is fabulous, but we talk about it all the time with like hormone health and your brain and just bringing down inflammation, but we never talk about it for the eyesight.
Yeah.
And so the omega 3s, is it more than just the glands? Is it mainly for the glands or the eyesight as well?
No, it's definitely I'd say primarily for eyesight, for retinal function. Omega-3s, that's kind of how the retinal cells are formed is off of omegas. So it's very anti-inflammatory and antioxidative for that. Um, but primarily for dry eyes, when I'm prescribing it for patients that have dry eye issues, we need 2,000 milligrams of a 50-50 split of DHA and EPA.
Hmm,
Okay. That is what has been proven through big studies showing that it helps those glands function how they should.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, and most people don't get enough omega 3s in their diet. It is
Yeah.
one that I think a lot of people should supplement with, so I'm
Yes.
surprised more people out there don't have worse eyesight because of being, low in omega 3s.
No, yeah, it's fun to see a lot of patients that come in with these kind of mild, moderate dry eye issues. I'm like, well, just start taking this. And then, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, they're fine. Their eyes are perfect. And
That's
also they feel
incredible.
a little bit better and their guts health is a little bit better too. So
Well, as we wrap up here, it really does sound like um, the health, the nutrition that people are eating, their lifestyle factors, their gut health all plays a part in their eyesight, which is not really talked about very often. It's always talked about other health issues, but not the eyesight.
yeah.
So you would agree, right?
Yes, totally.
So tell my listeners where they can find you on social media or your clinic.
Yeah, my clinic is called Eye Care of Lehigh in Lehigh, Utah. I think the easiest way, I mean, we have our phone number. You just give us a call. Um, I try to answer a lot of emails. So if you want to email me, it's just drgray, Gray, at eyecareoflehigh.com. So you can send me an email if you have questions. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm only on Instagram right now. My staff really wants me to become a TikTok eye doc. So maybe you'll see me on TikTok sometime, but it's at Utah Dry Eye Guy. That's the best way to follow me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know you are busy all the time with patients, so I appreciate you taking the time. But you may or may not know this, but I end all of my podcast episodes with
Yeah.
asking my guests what they have found to be the best ingredient in life. What would you say it is?
Yeah, it's funny because when I hear it on your podcast, I really think the best ingredient that I've loved in my life is laughter.
Mm,
I think if you're a positive person, you're laughing all the time, you're having a good time, your life just is better. So yeah, definitely laughter and humor.
I love that because also if you can find the joy and the laughter, then you are having that better mindset and
Mindset.
perspective in life as
Yep.
well.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, I love that. We could all find more laughter and joy in our life. That is for sure. Again, thank you so much for being here. I actually learned quite a bit. I didn't realize how much eye stuff, pertained to nutrition and things like that. So thank you so much for being here. I know, like I said, you're so busy with patients, and I learned a ton today. I didn't realize how much nutrition played a role in our eyesight. So thank you for taking the time to be here. And followers, go give him a follow on Instagram, and you will learn a lot.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe to the Just Ingredients podcast to learn more about your health and good ingredients to life. Plus, get daily tips at just.ingredients on Instagram.